Hey, it's Ole, and today we are changing the radiator in our Toyota Camry. We have overheating issues, and we have issues where the fan is not blowing heat. So we're going to change the radiator out. Well, I've diagnosed sort of a leak in the radiator fan, so I know it's that. And right now we're just draining the coolant. As you can see, the coolant's draining, and we're going to swap it out with this. I don't know how much coolant exactly we have, but all I did was, you see down there, it's a coolant, that yellow kind of little plug right there. Loosen that, and there's a perfect, Toyota left a perfect hole for your coolant to drain right through under there, which is really awesome of them. And before that, I removed the air intake box, and you can see that this screw is removed, but this other one here, it fully rusted off. So it's just a little stud in there. So it's only being held on with one screw, but yeah, old cars, man. This is what you deal with. Got my makeshift prop up here. It's a little windy than I would like today, but you know, it'll have to do. So we'll see. Let this drain, and then we'll move on to our next step. Okay, we also want to take off the radiator cap right here to allow air into the system so it can drain faster. So we'll just take that right off. Boom. Into the system right there. Should drain a little faster. Yep, I can see a bit more of a flow down there. Camera won't focus. Yeah, but let's take this, set it off to the side somewhere so you have it. Yeah, I mean, while it's draining, you could start doing other stuff like removing the sort of connections and everything, so which I'm probably gonna do. But there's something else I wanted to mention. Yeah, but I want to keep a watch just in case it overfills. It seems like it's doing pretty fine. Yeah, just let air into the system. Next thing I did was pull off these connectors. They go from here, and there's a little tab at the very top of here that you just push, and then you kind of pull away. This sheathing is starting to come undone. That's not ideal. So, yeah, it's just kind of disintegrating. And then there's also one connector down here, and this is all connected to the cooling fan. And I just, you know, push down on that top, wiggle it out a little bit. Yeah, so be careful with all these things, especially on these old cars. Plastic pieces, rubber pieces can all be sort of degrading and everything, even the metal. So, you know, use caution so you don't break the part and have to order a new one. Next step, going to be taking off these trim tabs. So this whole assembly needs to come off the cooling fan right here. So take off these trim pieces with a trim tool. I wish I had an actual proper tool for this, but I'm going to be using one of those trim tab screwdrivers, something like this, and that maybe should get the job done, hopefully. Okay, so we finally disconnected the little trim tabs that were on here. You know, these little clips. This is what they look like. Very weird design. It's like, I don't really know the best way to get these out. I was just kind of trying to pry it at it with the trim tool, and I didn't want to break it. So you know, that's a lot of times when I'm working, that kind of like holds me back sometimes, because I don't want to break things. So I don't know how much pressure to use, because I don't want to use too much where it breaks. But then also, like, if you don't use enough pressure, it just won't come off. So, you know, at some point I usually get mad and I just whatever kind of. But this time, you know, it didn't exactly break. Sort of damaged these, but they're like old, degrading, brittle plastic. So, you know, it's gonna happen. But yeah, this is, man, surprisingly hard. But we got that out of the way, set that out here, and now we can take out the radiator with the fan. Well, actually, after we remove this whole panel over here. And my coolant is still draining down there. Probably almost to the end, but we'll see. All right, well, here's the issue I encountered. I realized when you remove this whole piece, plus the horn assembly over here, which I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do, because I'm gonna lose this point to bring up my hood. Man, this is when hood struts would be nice. We'll figure it out. Maybe I can still keep it here. I don't know if I have to remove this whole entire section. We'll have to see, but maybe I can put it on this. I mean, it is plastic after all, so it might be okay, but we'll have to figure that out. Okay, so I forgot to say that I'm removing this bolt, this bolt, this bolt, this bolt, and we're removing this bolt up inside here, this one at the top there, and this one right down there, as you can see. So I'm gonna remove those. Those are all 10mm bolts. As I've worked on more and more cars and, you know, just mechanical stuff, I've noticed that most things use 10mm. So now I finally do understand the 10mm jokes. And let's see. Yeah, these were really rusted. So I was just trying not to snap the bolts as I was going about it. So yeah, just be careful. We're gonna have to remove this and then disconnect the horn assembly, or not the assembly, but disconnect the wires from the horn, so then we can set this whole panel out to the side, get access to our radiator. So coolant's done, and this is how much it filled up. Pretty much perfect, this. So that's awesome. It's a little dark, as you can see, but how much is this? It's 2 kilograms. How many liters? Oh, 2 kilograms. Not sure how many liters, but you know, this was a perfect container. Yeah, trying to get these bolts out, but they're so rusted. So I hit them with some WD-40, hopefully to free them up, because this one was so hard to get out. It was very rusted, and I mean, like, I was starting to strip the bolts at that point. Like, it was, the wrench was turning, but it wasn't. So I'm using this. I should have bought a ratchet wrench. That's what you need, the right tools for the job, right? But this one, I wasn't using this. Don't use this, because you would definitely strip the bolts with this. Use this side, but even with this side, it was starting to kind of like turn in place. So I don't know, I think the bolts have like shrunk or something through like degrading over years of rust. So you gotta be very careful. I'm gonna just hit it with some WD-40, hopefully get it off. Okay, after some WD-40 and just taking our time trying to remove this with that little wrench, we have finally got all the bolts off, and now this piece comes loose. All we need to do is just unplug the horn. As you can see, these little tabs, unplug the horn there and unplug the other horn, and we're good. We've relocated this, standing on just this screw. We relocated it so that we can move this piece, because this is no longer going to be here. Okay, so I could not get the other horn plug from this side off, so I just decided to keep this thing here. It's way too much of a hassle. I'm disconnecting the hoses now. So these are the coolant lines that go to the engine. Disconnected this one from here. You just use these locking pliers, pull the clamp back, hose clamp back, and then you pull it off. You gotta wiggle it, because these are like kind of deteriorated and they've been here a long time, so they're quite stuck. Yeah, so now I gotta take off this tube from the expansion tank, the overflow tank, and then we can start unbolting this whole thing. Well, let's see, yeah, we can start unbolting this whole thing from the actual bottom condenser, and yeah, then keep going. So I'm having trouble seeing the screws at the very bottom for the condenser fan, just to take out the radiator from the condenser. So I'm gonna first get the cooling fan here. So it's just these 3 clips. You just pop them out of these 3 clips, but you know, you pinch this and then it actually pops out. This is actually not too bad, you know, despite the plastic being pretty old. This one was actually pretty decent. So now I'm just gonna pull the whole condenser fan out, along with my tube for the cooling. And then after I get this thing out, then I'm gonna pull the transmission cooling lines, or transmission lines that come into the cooler here. And then, okay, so there's the cooling fan all taken out. Pulled it up. You need to make sure this hose, since this hose attaches to the radiator right here, this hose needs to kind of loop off the fan. So on the fan, there's this part right here that loops around the hose. Okay, so you know, make sure you loop that off, And now that I'm getting a better look, I actually don't see the screws that I was thinking of that hold the radiator to the front condenser. And over here, you can see the screws, that screw right down there in the middle of my camera, right there. That's one of them, and there's another one on the other side. But I realized there's actually no screws on this side. So I could have probably just taken the whole fan and radiator out without pulling the two apart. But you know, you could do either way. But yeah, this is, I kind of forgot that after watching the videos. I wish for us DIY mechanics we had like some sort of like goggles. I know like the Apple Vision Pros, they make something similar, but some sort of goggles where like you can play the video as you're doing it so that you could remember all the steps. Because like, yeah, here I just forgot. And also I wish you could like film all this, you know, so I don't have to keep taking off my gloves and filming here. So I wish there was like some sort of, I have meta glasses, but like, you know, or like you can use a GoPro, but yeah, I wish there was something else like, you know, that could film all this without me having to keep stopping. But anyways, let's what we'll do is we're trying to take this out, right? So we're gonna disconnect the transmission lines. We're gonna disconnect them at the top here because it's quite weird, awkward to get it down there. Disconnect them at the top here. It's gonna leak a little bit of transmission fluid. I think that's okay. You can check the level afterwards. This is the transmission fluid dipstick right here. Check the level afterwards. If you need to top up, you can top up, but I haven't seen anyone in the videos top up, so I'm probably not gonna top it up. Yeah, let's remove the two screws down in here. And yeah, before that, the transmission lines first, so then we can take these apart, take the radiator from the condenser. Okay, after a lot of fighting, we got the transmission lines off, and yeah, a lot of fluid as you can see. So all that's just sitting down there now. Gonna think of a way to somehow drain that. I'd like to, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, other than that, it stopped flowing. It's just whatever's in the lines that will come out. Okay, so there it is. Radiator out of the car, condenser left behind right here. Turns out I just totally like messed up, but it wasn't like screws on the back at the bottom there. It was just two screws here and there. I totally forgot that from the videos. So it was these two screws up top and then those two screws at the bottom that I showed earlier. Man, I should have probably rechecked the video at that point. But oh well, here we go. Radiator out. Transmission hoses still here. So we're gonna swap those to the new one, and then we're gonna swap any other existing parts to the new one. Also, wanna swap this cap. Bring that to the new one. This hose and these rubber grommets. This and this rubber grommet. And there's supposed to be ones at the bottom of the feet, but if they're not here, that means that they've stayed with the car. And you can see one right there and the other right there. Okay, so here we go. We have our new radiator from Auto Shack. Got this off Amazon. Didn't go OEM. If you really want to do it properly, go OEM. Always go OEM for Toyota. That's what I've learned. But this car, old car, you know, it's kind of on its last legs, so I wasn't trying to do anything crazy. They say you need to rinse the new radiator out. You know, it's best practice just to get rid of any like machining, little shards of little metal or any debris. But I don't have a hose. That's kind of sucks. If I ever get another house, I definitely will want a hose connection. I don't have a hose, so we're not gonna rinse it. And I see a lot of people also don't rinse it. Really, like it's kind of like one of those things. It's nice to do, but not necessary. So we got to take this out and then change on the stuff, install it, and it should be good to go. Wow, I'm actually pretty impressed with how nicely sealed this came. Look at that. Okay, just gotta pop it out. Okay, here's the two side by side. OEM, aftermarket. They give you some of these plugs to close that up, which is nice. And drain cock is different. Used to be a yellow one. I wonder if it will switch over actually, or if I even should. Everything else is the same, right? Transmission line, transmission cooling line right there. Inlet lines, and top. So this doesn't actually come with a cap or the rubber grommets, so make sure you get those from the OEM one. It also seems like it doesn't come with this here, which is a cushion, which honestly I don't even know if this is supposed to be part of the radiator. It might have just melted off of the back of here, probably at some point. And that might have, maybe, I'm not sure. But I guess that's more for like sound dampening and vibration dampening. Okay, so we took off all the lines, put them here. These are the transmission fluid lines. What happened was this basically just broke off, like the clip, and this one's on its way up too. See how rusted and messed up it is? So that one used to look like this. Broke right off. So it was broken, so I just like took it off. There's still some transmission fluid, so when you pull it, you know, you're gonna get a little bit more spill, but it's kind of hard taking these off. But you can see how it is. There's a bead up here, there's a bead down here. You gotta pull it off like that. So it's a little tough. Over here we can see a lot of corrosion on what used to be that, right? Almost unrecognizable. Holy shoot, it's a lot of corrosion. Damn. So, yeah, you gotta rust-proof your cars, because then in about 20 years, this is what your car's gonna look like. You're not gonna be able to work on stuff like that. Damn, this really makes me want to rust-proof that RAV4 now, because I don't want to be working with the same sort of issues with corroded bolts and everything. Holy shoot. So we're sort of stuck here. I gotta run to the parts store and grab hose clamps for those transmission lines. So I need some pretty small ones, put them on there, and then we'll be able to put this whole thing back in. So luckily I have another car. We're gonna have to leave a lot of this out and yeah, run to the parts store. Okay, so I took off the hose clamps off here, as you can see, and I'm gonna put in, I went to buy hose clamps, so I went to buy these ones. These are 5/16 or 7/8 for these hose clamps, and I'm gonna replace it with these. So the old ones, all rusted and everything, doesn't work. So yeah, place them. Okay, so we've transferred over our hoses. Hose clamps are on, and so we will just connect all this back where it was. And here, can't really tell exactly what's wrong with this, but I mean, here it was actually leaking before, back then. So when we first found the problem, this area was leaking. You kind of see some of that residue coolant. So we're thinking this is what was causing the issue. So hopefully changing this radiator actually does something. You can see inside there's some coolant still left. Yeah, let's install this. I'm looking at it from this side, and I see some sort of burn or scratch marks. I'm not really sure what that is. It goes all along here to the edges. I really hope that this doesn't interfere with the radiator, but that's kind of weird. I think I'm gonna have to install it. I guess I could contact them to get the part fixed, but hopefully that doesn't do anything. Some of these fins are also slightly collapsed, and that wasn't me. I didn't do that. It just came like that. So I don't know. Yeah, not totally. Must have been maybe when they were packing it, something. Okay, so we're starting to assemble it. We got this radiator in, and it's with the condenser. So when you do it, you actually want to, the condenser actually like kind of separates from the radiator, and the only thing that holds the condenser in place is that metal line right down there. Now the condenser needs to, it kind of drops down once you take the radiator out. So you need to kind of pull it up a little bit, and there's this little hook right there on this plastic piece. Hook it into place, and then it will line your condenser right up. And then you put these screws in right there. If your screws are corroded, if you have a wire brush, take a wire brush, take out some of the rust. Unfortunately, I don't have a wire brush, so I just have to put them back in. But ideally, you know, you get them proper. But first, before you get the condenser lined up, seat the radiator properly on the bottom grommets, which were in there. Make sure they're seated properly, and then start screwing this together. We got these 2 screws. Now we got to get the ones at the very bottom over there. It's gonna be a little tough. As you can see, these are the state of my screws. See how corroded some of these are? That one's okay. But yeah, look, all that corrosion. Now, I hit them with some WD-40, so it should help a little bit, but ideally, I don't know, you have to give it like a bath in like, what, brake cleaner or WD-40, or like, yeah, as I said, use a wire brush, hit it with that. Also, another little thing I want to mention, this plug right here, although you're like, oh, maybe I want the yellow plug because it's OEM, it actually, the threads, there's more threads on this than on the one I got from Auto Shack. So look at all those threads. Yeah, so it's actually a different plug, so you won't be able to swap this over, unfortunately. Okay, so we got all screws connected. 1, 2 down there, 3 and 4 down there. All screws are connected. The condenser and the radiator are put together. So what happened was the bottom screws, like right there, it wasn't lining, the radiator and condenser weren't lining up. So what you do is you take a thin screwdriver. I took this, poke it through the hole, yank it to line it up, and then hand thread your screw, and then once it's in, wrench it afterwards. So that's what I did. That's a new trick you can use. And now it's time to reconnect our transmission lines. So left goes to left, right goes to right. It's actually pretty easy, self-explanatory, right? Left, right. And then hose clamps back on. Okay, so I put the hose clamps back on, and I tried my best to get them as close as possible to where they originally were. It always helps to seat them where they originally were, so that you know that you're making sure that the hose is tight and like fully, I guess, clamped on. I also noticed this weird thing. I don't know if you can see it. What is this? It's like a loop piece of metal. See that? No clue what the hell that is. It looks like some sort of like a hanger for something. But it also looks like super makeshift. So I'm wondering if another mechanic was in here and had to hang something there, left it, and now it's just there. So I don't know, I'm gonna keep it there because I don't really know what the hell that is. All right, so transmission lines are back in, and now it's time to take the cooling fan and put that back in. It's gonna go, again, remember these clips, so clip right into there, and then we're gonna probably put the cooling lines all we'll put the cooling lines back into their places. And there's one thing, no, that's it actually. Yeah, just put the cooling fan back on, and then make sure, yeah, the cooling line goes around that thing, right? So yeah, I'll show you how that goes. Okay, so in the process of trying to put the cooling fan back in, I sort of dented some of these fins, so I wasn't careful. You kind of need someone to hold this forward. I mean, you can do it by yourself, but like you run the risk of doing what I did. So I'm just gonna get someone to hold this forward as I try to shimmy the fan in. And I think best bet with this hose is to tuck it right back here, so it's out of your way when you go into to put the cooling fan in. Okay, so one thing I've noticed with this is that just as I was putting this here, just as when I left it here, this spot formed. So it is leaking coolant, and you know, just putting it down on its front, as you can see, this part has gotten all wet. So it is leaking coolant still from the top of this radiator, which is a very common spot, as it seems for a lot of people. It's because the metal there and the plastic, you know, just with the temperatures and as they age, they start separating a little bit. Overall though, this radiator is actually pretty nice. We don't have many fins collapsed. It means they put it in pretty well, and it's held up pretty well. Oh shoot, well this part's totally destroyed actually in some of these areas, so it's about time you change it out. But damn, not too bad. This side, all looking pretty clean and uniform. Okay, so our cooling fan is in. Fumbled with these clips a little bit, but I find that when you're doing it, make sure get the middle one in first and then line up the sides. And you gotta kind of like pull this way as you kind of line it up, because for these ones, it didn't sit, you know, obviously because this is an aftermarket part, it's not gonna be like perfectly fitting OEM, just like, you know, millimeters off. And you know, that could be a difference between like, you know, having to struggle a little bit with it. But struggle a little bit with it, but we just slowly try to get them all evenly in at the same time, you know. So you're gonna have to like work your way down, but middle one in first, and then just try to like really move those ones into place. Okay, radiator fan is in. Now reconnect our coolant lines, and then we should be good with this top part. And then we can probably reconnect the radiator fan, and then reconnect the horn. We have to connect that at some point, and then this harness over here, which we took off. So just again, you know, go backwards. Oh, also this is gonna have to connect into that. Okay, so let's okay, so we've installed our front, I guess, support here. Just need one more screw here. Hood latch is installed. It's a little tough to install, but I recommend getting these screws in first, right? And then that kind of lines up your hood latch. And then your hood latch, make sure this piece goes in front of the silver piece, and at the very bottom over here, the beam that is attached to this goes in front of the hood latch, because it's two pieces of metal sandwiched together by a screw. So that's good. This line is connected to our overflow tank. We finally got this on. Oh my god, this was tough. So I really wanted to get this back into its place, exactly where it used to be, so that it seals properly. So I finally got it, but it was really tough because you need to get past this little hump right here. And if you don't have the right tool, it's just really hard to clamp this down without, because this mechanism needs to go right through that hole to give you the most room on this hose clamp. But now it's tight. Another thing I really like about Toyota is that they give these kind of these tabs right back here on both these ends. This one too, like when they had it, this is tab that you push the hose up until that point and it stops their hose, so that you know exactly how much you need to put your hose in, and you're not going, you know, too little or too much. So that's great. Now all that's left to do is we're gonna reconnect the fan assembly lines, right? So yeah, we need to take this, clip in the harness into those little grommet holes, and then reconnect the fan connections, and then we should be good. And then we need to just fill the coolant in this area, bleed the car, and then it should be good to go. Oh, and the air box. Okay, so we finally fixed everything, put everything back together, and it took me pretty much all day, like all morning to night. So yeah, this is what happens when, you know, it's, for me, I'm more of an amateur mechanic, DIY, and yeah, it takes a long time, man. I didn't have a lot of the right tools, plus this is extremely rusted, so it's just not as smooth as they do it like in the videos and everything. So definitely took me a whole day. I'm sure a mechanic could do it faster, but you know, I got to learn, and you know, I saved money, got to learn, Obviously the money saved is probably not equal to the amount of work because I spent the whole day, but I learned something along the way, right? So that's good. I was filling the coolant at the end. You're supposed to fill the coolant in a funnel, and it's supposed to stop. It's supposed to stop, and it's supposed to stop going in. There were bubbles, so which meant it was good, and there was no leaks other places, but the coolant just kept on going in, kept on going in. I put in a whole jug of coolant. I put in all the coolant that I drained out of this, and then I put in a whole jug on top of that, and even that was just not enough. And the overflow tank was full, and it was full from the beginning. So I don't know where the coolant's going, but we ran the car. It didn't overheat. We have no heat though. We have no like heating, but that's because there's still air in the system because of, you know, it's not overfilling. But it's supposed to stop filling, and then you're supposed to run the car, and then it goes down, and you just top it up, and then once it fully stops filling, that means you got no air in the system and it's fully coolant. So that's what it's supposed to do, but that's not happening. So we're gonna buy another jug of coolant, put that in another time. But yeah, we'll see. We'll have to test this car. I've put down a mat over here just to check for any leaks overnight. We had a little bit of leaks earlier, but that was, I think, when I was pouring. I think I over poured and it started leaking a little bit, but or no, I didn't over pour, like the funnel like leaked a little bit. So that was that leak, but we moved it back, so we're gonna check the leak tomorrow morning. But yeah, overall interesting job. I think it's a job well done, but we'll have to test and see. Yeah, that was interesting.